On one side, atheists are claiming that modern Muslims are desperate, twisting a vague Quranic verse to magically make it fit the Big Bang. But on the other side, confident debaters think that this one verse about the beginning of the universe single-handedly embarrasses every atheist on Earth. Meanwhile, in the background, there is this noise coming from those who doubt the Big Bang itself for some reason. And I am tired of this endless back and forth. So, today, we're putting the raw Arabic Quran text in one hand and the peer-reviewed Astrophysics in the other, and seeing with our own eyes if it actually holds up to the challenge or collapses. And in the end, you will make your own judgment. Because up until the 1920s, Einstein and the greatest minds on Earth were dead wrong. They thought that the universe is static, eternal, had no beginning, just existed there forever. But in 1929, Edwin Hubble made an amazing discovery. He discovered that the light emitted by faraway galaxies gets stretched out before reaching us. And this could only happen if this space between us and the faraway galaxies is also being stretched out. Astrophysicists call this the red shift. This was when we knew with absolute mathematical certainty that galaxies are moving far away from us, and that the universe is definitely expanding, which means that if we reverse this process, go back in time, it will be shrinking and shrinking and shrinking until we reach the singularity, a point where everything in the universe literally were joined together. Then in 1964, those two scientists heard a weird background static noise coming from giant radio antenna. Initially, they thought it was caused by pigeon poop on their equipment. I'm not joking. They spent hours cleaning off all of the bird droppings, but the noise was still there. Long story short, it wasn't pigeon poop. And they actually discovered the leftover radiation from the Big Bang itself. They accidentally proved that the universe had a starting point, and they won the Nobel Prize for it. Then, in 2025, the $10 billion James Webb Space Telescope confirmed that the early universe formed and expanded way faster, denser, and more violently than modern physics previously predicted. And the crazy part is, we still don't even know what force is causing this rapid expansion. This massive invisible force makes up 68% of the universe, and we have no idea what it is. We just slapped the word dark in front of it and called it a day. The dark energy. To sum up, before the 1920s, we had no idea about all of that. And it took the best minds of humanity, the whole technology of the last century, and a bunch of pigeon poop, just to figure out that the universe was joined together and then expanded by a dark, mysterious, invisible force. And because no one knows what this dark energy is and how it will behave in the future, physicists predict a couple of terrifying doomsday scenarios. Either the universe will keep expanding until it fully freezes, or this expansion will violently reverse, leading us back to the singularity, the point we started from. And they call this scenario the Big Crunch. That is the science. Now, let's see what this 7th century book that came from the middle of the desert has to say about all of that. But first, I want you to note that in Western culture, the word heaven is usually used to refer to Jannah or paradise. However, in an Islamic educational context, if you hear me use the word heaven, what I mean by it is whatever is in the up direction. Like this ceiling above me in my room, it is in heaven. Also, clouds and birds, they are in heaven. Stars, galaxies, and black holes also are in heaven. Basically anything on the Z-axis. And Allah divided the heaven into 7 categories. The first heaven being the closest to us, and then the higher the number, the further away it gets. And this first heaven is what we call now the observable universe, as Allah described it as the heaven that is filled with stars. And until today, we can't look into this second heaven or whatever is after it. These are our questions to the Quran today. How did the universe start according to the Quran? And how will it end? And what is this mysterious dark energy that is causing the expansion of the universe? Allah said in Surah Al-Anbiya, do the disbelievers not realize that all the heavens and earth, like basically everything, were just one thing joined together and then we split them apart? This we here, by the way, is the royal we. It is the same as saying I split them apart, but with honor. Those who insist in disbelief, can't they see that all of the heavens and earth, basically everything that we call now the universe and beyond, all of that was just one single thing joined together in the beginning, and then I, Allah, split them apart from one single point to create this massive, beautiful universe that you can see? I built this universe with great might, and I, Allah, am certainly expanding it. Dear disbelievers, this dark energy that you can't explain within the boundaries of physics, that is causing the universe to expand, yeah, I am telling you, I am causing it. I am expanding it. Now some critics will come and claim that the Arabic word here, موسعون, could also refer sometimes to generosity, depends on the context, like a wealthy man giving charity and feeding the poor. Well, yes, if the context is talking about human charity, sure. But how does it apply here? How does it apply to this sentence that is literally talking about the physical construction of the universe? The context is the creation of the cosmos. You don't give charity to a galaxy, right? The word universe is literally there in front of you. It means expansion. And if you're curious, which possible doomsday scenario Allah is planning to use, from the ones physicists expected, just check out this verse. On that day, we will fold the heavens the same way you fold paper into books. You know how books are bound together? You fold a page in half, and then you press it, and then you fold the next page, and then you press it again, and so on. Eventually, all of those pages will be tightly compressed together between the two covers. We call that a book. Allah is basically saying, in the end, I will compress this whole universe the same way you fold and compress papers into books. And look at this Arabic word used here, طي, which means bending or folding. You know that in modern astrophysics, gravity is literally described as bending or folding of space-time? We are basically comparing the physical analogy of folding and compressing paper to make books to the terrifying compression of the whole universe in the end of time. And here is the most interesting part. Allah refers to the end as a repetition of the beginning. كما بدأنا أول خلق نعيده. The end of the universe will look exactly the same as its beginning, which is exactly what happens in the Big Crunch. The funny fact is, if you presented these verses to Albert Einstein himself a century ago, he would have told you, you're dead wrong. Actually, from the 7th century up until the early 1920s, all of these verses in the Quran were being referred to as quote-unquote scientific mistakes. Until we finally became smart enough to realize that the Quran was correct all along. And the problem was that scientists back then were still not qualified enough to understand how the universe really started. And the same, by the way, applies to all the other information that Allah provided in the Quran about the heavens. Like this verse, for example, when Allah described one of the stars as At-Tariq and Al-Thaqib. This word At-Tariq refers to someone who knocks on your door at night, and Al-Thaqib refers to a piercing light. People back then were like, what? We never imagined any knocking sound in the middle of darkness when we were thinking about the piercing light of a star. That was until NASA revealed this video. The pulsar. Or when Allah described one of the bodies in heaven as khunnas, jawari, kunnas. This word khunnas means extremely dark, like literally nothing to see. Jawari means traveling or moving, and kunnas refers to something like a vacuum cleaner. Not exactly, but the same root word is used today for vacuum cleaners in Amazon Arabia. So what is this dark object that we can't see, that moves and vacuums? I think I know one. Here is one of those very dark objects, literally vacuuming a whole star inside of it. We call it today a black hole. According to NASA, the only difference between a black hole and a modern vacuum cleaner is that the cleaner uses suction while the black hole uses gravity to pull things inside of itself. Who would have known that 1400 years ago? Also, by the way, the same applies when Allah referred to the relationship between the day and night with the word naslakh. Another sign for them is that we naslakh or strip the day from the night. But this word naslakh was originally used by the Arabs to refer specifically to stripping the skin from the slaughtered sheep to reach the meat inside, to put it on the grill. Which is very interesting because comparing the night and day to the skin and meat of an animal reveals an amazing fact. The fact that the day is just a skin layer compared to the massive meat that is the dark body of the universe. It reveals that unlike what the 7th century Arabs would expect that, day and night are like 50-50 split in heaven, the reality is, it's entirely night and the day is just a thin layer that resembles the skin. As you can see in this picture, we only discovered this skin layer analogy lately when we realized that the day is just the scattering of light on the Earth's atmosphere. Out in space, even in direct sunlight, it's just black all around. And the same applies when Allah referred to all the bodies in space to be swimming in orbits. Before 1783, the whole humanity thought that the sun was stationary. In the whole of scientific history, we were all wrong about the sun, until astronomer William Herschel proved that stars are not fixed. Yet, it's been there in the Quran since the 7th century. People were also curious. Why did Allah describe their movement using this word, swimming? Why swimming? But now, this article in astronomy.com says, just as a boat creates waves on a lake as it slices forward through the water, stars and other bodies in the universe create ripples in the fabrics of space-time.
If you have two objects, two compact stars, each of which curves space around them, and they're orbiting one another, then the result is that these two curved regions create a wave, a ripple. That's called a gravitational wave.
Allah said in the Quran that He created for Earth a well-guarded canopy. But throughout the history of science, this was a huge mystery. We look above, around the Earth, we find nothing offering any type of physical protection for us. But over time, we got smarter. In 1958, astrophysicist James Van Allen discovered the Van Allen belt that acts as a dynamic shield reflecting harmful solar and cosmic radiation away from our planet. And in the 1980s, we discovered the ozone layer that protects us from the majority of sun's harmful ultraviolet radiation. Allah revealed to the 7th century Arabs that if they could fly up into the heavens, they will not be able to breathe. But only now we could understand that this is because of the lack of oxygen up there. Allah also revealed, by the way, to them that outer space is completely dark, which is something that the Arabs didn't expect, especially looking in the sky in broad daylight. But now we understand that even if it doesn't look like it from a naked eye, above this thin skin-like layer that we call day, there is no atmosphere for light to scatter on, which makes outer space look completely dark. Allah told the Arabs that the location of the stars is not where they think it is. It's actually in a different place. Only now we know that when we point out to a location of a star in the sky, we aren't actually pointing to the star itself. We are actually pointing to where the star was billions of years ago. Because this is the time required for the light that came from the star to actually reach us. Billions of years. The actual star itself is definitely not in that location anymore. We don't even know if this specific star still exists or not. Maybe it already exploded as a supernova. You know what? Allah gave us a hint of something like a supernova by describing it as an oil painting of a red rose in the heavens. And here is a picture of a supernova compared to a rose. Allah told the Arabs that when the universe began to expand, the outer space wasn't like an empty void. It had smoke in it. And according to the European Space Agency Herschel Observatory, the universe is a very dusty place. Cosmic dust consists of tiny particles of solid material floating around in space between the stars. And check this out. It's not the same as the dust you find in your house, but more like smoke. Allah told the 7th century Bedouin Arabs that the iron they keep finding to make tools and swords, the iron they benefit from its strength, was actually sent down to Earth from outer space. And according to NASA, the pressure of the star fuses elements into heavier ones, from hydrogen to helium to carbon to silicon and eventually to iron. And when the supernova occurs, the iron fragments are blasted out into space. And this was how iron came to Earth millions of years ago. We found all of that and more in this beautiful, amazing Arabic book from the deserts of the 7th century Bedouin Arabia. Allah said in Surah Fussilat, I will show them my signs in the universe and within themselves until it become clear to them that this Quran is the truth. Either this Quran was revealed by God himself, or maybe the Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him, had a secret space agency hidden next to his tent in the 7th century. All of this research and production was made possible only because of our generous Patreons and our amazing supporters who keep liking our videos and sharing them to those who are looking for the truth. May Allah guide people to Islam through your efforts. You should also check out how the Quran broke the rules of time by teaching us some of the hidden secrets of ancient Egypt. It's all up there. جزاكم الله خيرا. السلام عليكم.